Welcome to Day 8 of AP Physics Prep from Don Bosco Technical Institute. Topic for today is simple indefinite integrals. Learning goals. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to calculate the indefinite integral of a function involving x to the n, 1 over x to the n, e to the x, sine x, cosine x, or some combination of these 5 elements. The solution that you calculate is going to be called a general solution because it includes an arbitrary constant, which we'll abbreviate plus c. Now later on we will learn how to solve for c, but that is outside the scope of today's lesson. Just a reminder of what an indefinite integral is. It is one of the 3 basic operations of calculus. If you start with a function and you take its derivative, which you should have learned how to do by now, you will get the rate of change for that function. You can do the opposite operation, which is called an indefinite integral, also called an antiderivative, and that starts with the rate of change and ends up with the original function. Now just a reminder that rate of change is also a function. It can change as the rate of change can change as your independent variable moves from one value to the next. So for example, if you're talking about the position of a car being your original function, then you can take the derivative and get the rate of change in position, which is commonly called velocity. Now, except under some very unusual circumstances, velocity, in fact, does change with time. So time's our independent variable. Rate of change would be velocity, which is itself a function of time. In other words, if you're going along at 50 miles per hour and then you hit the brakes, then your velocity will decrease. So your velocity changes as your independent variable, time, changes. So, when you take an indefinite integral or an antiderivative, you're going to start with one function, which represents a rate, and then you'll recover another function. Or you'll start with one function, and then you'll recover the integral of that function, the opposite of rate. The third operation of calculus, which we will get into in subsequent lectures, is called a definite integral. And what a definite integral does is it starts with a function and boundaries on that functions, basically starting and ending x values. And what it puts out is the area underneath that function. This is functionally, in terms of inputs and outputs, this is very different from an indefinite integral. However, the actual calculations that you do are very similar to an indefinite integral. That's why we teach indefinite integrals first. Now, remember that area under a function is a number, not a function. If you have the area of let's say a circle with 5 centimeter radius, that's going to be 25 times pi square centimeters. That's a number, not some function of your original equation, which your original variable, which was radius. So, definite integrals put out just a number. Indefinite integrals put out a function. In terms of handouts, there are some formulas that you will need in order to understand today's lecture. All the formulas that are needed for this section are in the handout integrals reference sheet. I strongly suggest you print this before viewing the videos. Since there's no song in this playlist, I figured I'll give you the comic relief in this presentation. So, a lot of what we're going to be doing in this is going to be taking integral of some function with respect to some variable. So let's say integral of x squared with respect to x. And the way you write that with mathematical symbols is this. Your function is in the middle here. Your independent variable comes after this d, and this elongated S shape, that's the integration symbol. So, integration symbol, function, what you're taking the integral with respect to, or your independent variable out here. So, a few years ago, XKCD decided to do a typical math pun on this sort of notation and came up with this. 1957, Eisenhower orders the military to integrate Little Rock High School. And so you see all these soldiers, and to integrate the high school over here, they've got an integration symbol. So it's mathematical integration, not racial integration. Get it? Yeah, that's humor for math. If you want to see the full comic, that's the URL. Back to business. There's 6 videos in this, made by a combination of Khan Academy and me. Here's the URLs, but you probably won't need them because these videos will play automatically if you're using the AP Physics C Prep Day 8 V2 playlist.